the Voice of the Land podcast with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Nick Paulus.
Man, it has been a long week since Monday night. As exciting as that game was, as back and forth as it was, Browns versus Ravens, I don't even think I've recovered sleep since that night, Monday night, under the lights at First Energy Stadium as the Browns lose to the Ravens 47-42, and now get set for another prime time matchup on Sunday night on NBC at MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants, and some familiar faces on Sunday night as well. With that, welcome on in to another edition of The Voice of the Land, a Big Play production. Of course, we are also partnered with Web Streaming Studio by LPV. I am one of your hosts, Kevin Arnold. Alongside me, as always, my brother, Nick Paulus, and our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tillip, who is behind that proverbial glass, as we mentioned, every single week. A little bit different this week. You guys may be seeing us on Saturday night. We're actually recording on Friday afternoon. We're going back to our roots and recording this, then posting it later rather than being live. Of course, Paulus has some responsibilities on Sunday night. I'm going to be out of town. Some family things, Christmas things, some holiday festivities.
There we go.
Could not find a time to go live and do a preview. So we're going to do our preview of Browns and Giants now.
And honestly, this is probably the best time to do it.
It is.
Because, we're gamed up. We're prepped up for this. This is before the Ohio State game as well. Fingers crossed on that.
Yeah.
And, a lot of things going on for it. So this is actually probably the most ideal time for us.
Now, those Buckeye fans that watch us, now the game has already happened as you're watching us.
Hopefully.
So hopefully, there's some scuttlebutt out there about positive tests and everything like that. I haven't seen credible sources on it. We won't get into that. We will talk about the game. We will preview it. So try to match up our preview, our expectations for the game versus what actually happened, if it actually does. You can always then reach out to us and let us know how wrong we were, because people love to do that. It's okay. It's a cancel culture, and that's what it's all about. But we are going to preview Browns versus Giants. Also talk a little Cavs, because the NBA will actually start their season before we get together again.
That was quick for the NBA, but
Yeah.
it's so freaking long for the Cavs.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
It feels like light years since I
March.
saw Cavs basketball on an actual court. I know they had preseason games. Haven't had a chance to watch them, so I still have yet to see an actual live Cavs game in a while. And at the end of the show, we'll have a little holiday fun. Favorite Christmas present. And for anybody watching, of course, you can always comment. We will comment back as you watch this. We will probably be watching alongside with you. We will comment back with you. What's your favorite Christmas present or holiday present of all time? Of course, we also want to wish a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa to all those celebrating those holidays as well. Happy Boxing Day to our brothers and sisters up north in Canada, as well, as we will not have a show until after all of those holidays, I believe, if my calendar serves me correct. Of course, you can always find the show on Spotify, Google, and Apple. The audio is always posted there. We usually go live every Sunday, so moving forward, we'll be back to our live schedule on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. You can find us on Twitter at VTL_pod. Find the show also on our Facebook page at Voice of the Land, Big Play's Facebook page, and their YouTube page at Big Play Live. Or if you have the Sportscaster app, tune in live right there or watch it on replay throughout the week. You can also find us in fun clips on YouTube at Voice of the Land Podcast. Paulus is at CLE_Paulus. Myself on Twitter at Kevan and 7, because I always come through in the clutch when it matters most. Gotta keep that tagline going. And you can follow LPV Productions on all social media sites. We are sponsored by DP Construction LLC. Reach out to them for all your concrete construction needs. Reach out by phone at 330-217-4999. That's 330-217-4999. You can also reach out to Tyler LaFrada, our buddy, tylerlafrada at gmail.com, or on Facebook. Look at all the beautiful pictures. We tell you every single week, they do such great work. Uncle Steve is putting in the hours, putting in the hard work out there. So any concrete construction needs you have to be done around the house, reach out to them, and they will get you that quote, and they get you a quote right through Facebook as well. So the beauty of social media, We know there's some downsides, but the beauty of social media is always that you can get some of these great deals and quotes through some local companies. Shop local during this holiday season, especially as we've gone through this pandemic. And like I said, we're recording on Friday. We just had a show on Sunday. Before we get into the Browns, guys, I always find it funny, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but news always breaks after we go live or after we go off the air.
Always does.
Yep.
Indians, like the official word, and then it came out a day later, the press release that the Cleveland Indians will still go by that name in the 2021 season, but the plan is to change the name. What that is, no one knows. There's some reports out there or screenshots of MLB trying to trademark the name Cleveland Citizens. But, I mean, we were expecting this, though, right?
Right. Well, I mean, going into this, whenever you and I hung up the mics on Sunday night, literally, I think it was 3 minutes later, the news came down that, hey, by the way, the Indians are going to be changing their names. And we thought, oh, my God, they're going to have the name changed this week. No, the press release was basically just saying, hey, yeah, we are going to change the name. Like, for sure, we're going to change the name. Okay. Yeah, like we saw that one coming. Yeah. So it didn't really bother me too much. Like the following day, I was heated that night. I mean, you saw me. I was heated. I was like, I can't believe we just did this entire show, and then 2 minutes later this comes out. But thankfully, we're not going to know the name this year. Most likely, we're not going to know the name this year. Definitely not going to know it this week. If they want to name them the Citizens, I know Peter has a thought on that, but I truly don't care what their names are, as long as they play, here in Cleveland, on the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. I think we're okay. Like as long as they stay here in Cleveland, I'm all for it. And whatever they name themselves, I'm going to support them. That's just me personally.
Peter, I know we were talking before we started recording.
Cleveland Talk about someone getting hot over a team name.
I leave the hot take to you.
So, some of the names out there, like the Guardians. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I could root for the Guardians. The Spiders, there's history there. I could root for the Spiders. The Cleveland Citizens, that is such a stupid name that honestly, if they decide to go with the Citizens, I'm hanging it up for MLB. I'm sorry. I'm not picking another team, but I cannot back a team with a name that is that bad. And like Washington, like I said before, the Washington football team, if they wanted to call them the Cleveland baseball team, that's better than the Citizens.
Sure.
The Citizens is just so bad. So if that's it, I'm done.
If they name them the Cleveland Citizens, does that mean citizens of Cleveland and surrounding areas get to play?
They might do better.
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I need to find an outfield. So,
but see, I'm with Peter though. Like I'm not to the point of never rooting because I'm always going to root for any Cleveland team.
Sure.
It's just going to be the dumbest thing unless Peter showed us the picture of the was the Greendale. He's probably going to Greendale.
Here we go. There we go.
The Greendale human being.
Yeah,
human being.
Greendale human being. That'll be, you guys see it up on the screen. That'll be the mascot for the Cleveland Citizens.
Great
something
show,
like that.
Community. Yeah, Community. Fantastic.
Community is a great show. It's just, that just sounds so dumb. I mean,
yeah.
Some of these other names, like there is some marketing that you can really do and some color schemes and everything that you can really come up with. The Cleveland Citizens, that would be such a Dolan family move. The cheapest way. Like, what's the cheapest name? Oh, it's by the letter? Okay, well...
the Cleveland X.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me either way. Once again, as long as they play in Cleveland, I will root for them no matter what. I understand if a name is that stupid, like a lot of people jumping off the bandwagon. To each their own. Like, I'm not going to tell you, oh, you have to root for this team or you don't have to. Like, that's not my job. My job here is to talk sports and for me personally, to root for that sport. We're lucky enough to have an MLB team here. I know Cleveland is a major market.
Right.
Okay. But to be completely honest with you, the way our attendance was or has been over the past couple of years, dropping to like in the 20s and everything like that, we're lucky we have a team.
Right.
Okay. Because eventually, if we don't start filling up the seats, obviously this year doesn't count because of COVID, but if we don't start filling up the seats and, putting asses in the seats, this team might be gone. And like I told our buddy Anthony, in the league there for us, this team might go to like Oklahoma City, or somewhere that would absolutely love to have a team of their own. And we've seen, the Oklahoma City, oh my God.
Thunder?
Yeah, the Thunder. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know why I forgot about that. But like we saw them, like that crowd of people, like embrace them because that's their only professional team that they have there. So you could definitely see something along the lines of that happening. And I'm not saying they're going to move to Oklahoma City or anywhere like that, but be thankful that you have a sports team here, and a really good one. The fact that we make the playoffs, nearly every year under Tito is a huge accomplishment. I wasn't around for it, but, all throughout the 50s, basically, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and then for half of the 90s, you had nothing here in Cleveland to root for. So be thankful that you actually have a team that's competitive and has been to a couple of World Series in my lifetime at least. So,
well, you have to remember, I watched them through the 90s.
Sure.
In the 80s, if you got a good grade, good report card, you got free tickets for your whole family to go see them at Municipal Stadium,
right?
Because they couldn't give the tickets away,
right?
So yeah, but through the 90s they were fantastic, and that's what makes me so mad. My blood boil about the Citizens as a name is that you're right. It's a great team. We're fortunate to have it.
Sure,
they deserve a better name than the Citizens.
You know why? Another reason why they would do it that way, they can keep the Block C. Some of the gear that's already out there, they wouldn't even realize that if you name it something where you have to rebrand completely, you're going to get that money coming in. They're going to go cheap instead of having to produce a bunch of extra stuff, except for shirts that say Citizens.
Sure.
A lot of the things that say Cleveland, referencing the Cleveland Indians, or have just the Block C on them,
right?
They can just keep going with that, and then they don't have to do much for the creativity behind the scenes. I'll just be frustrated and call it out every single time if they are called the Cleveland Citizens. I'll root for the baseball to win. The name will just anger me and frustrate me.
Sure. I don't think we have to worry about that. I don't think that they're going to be the Citizens, but what do I know?
Yeah, and I don't know where people are getting this picture of that trademark either. We'll leave that for the bots on Twitter, But we are here to talk and preview Browns Giants on Sunday night football. So 2 primetime games back to back after the Browns fall to the Ravens. Do want to go around quickly, just get some impressions of the game, just quickly recap, because we're so many days removed from there and everybody's already on to this Giants game and knowing how important it is to try to get to 10-4. But Paulus, I know you were probably working that day. Just your thoughts as that game kind of transpired, developed, and how crazy it got.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. The Ravens versus Browns game, this past Monday night. It was a fantastic game. To be straight up honest with you, it was a very intriguing, very just fascinating game. 12 touchdowns scored in the game. 47-42. Baker Mayfield played out of his mind that second half after the interception, which was a bad interception. It was a great pick by the Ravens player, one-handed, just bring it in. So fantastic pick and play by that guy, but it was a bad throw by Baker, and we haven't seen a lot of those lately, which is the intriguing part about it. I'm not a believer in moral victories. I just don't really see a whole lot.
Getting on Coach Kev's bandwagon.
I am to an extent. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of moral victories because I don't think you lost the game. You lost a dire, that could have put away the Ravens because the Ravens have a cakewalk the rest of the year. And if you lose this game to the Giants, and I'm not saying that we are or anything like that, but you can't slip up. Because if the Ravens win out and you lose, 2 of the 3, they overtake you no matter what. So, you got to be mindful of the situation. But this would have been so sweet to knock the Ravens really on their ass. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. The Ravens played up to their expectations. They are a playoff caliber sort of team. Lamar Jackson is the MVP from last year. Now, did he do a lot of great things passing the ball? Not really. Not until the last probably 4 minutes of the game. Whenever, if you want to say he was cramping or crapping, whichever one you want to go with. But I mean, he did complete some major passes at the very end of that game. Now, I'm not here to say if we had Denzel Ward and Ronnie Harrison that wouldn't have happened, that the completion 4th and 5 to Hollywood Brown wouldn't have happened because Denzel would have been on him, or Ronnie Harrison would have probably been covering Mark Andrews, coming out in the last 2 minutes of the game. I'm not saying that we would have won the game, but I would have liked our chances a lot more. The fact that, they could have done whatever they wanted to do to that defense really disappointed me. But we didn't have any secondary help whatsoever. So I want to say, don't worry so much about this game. It's offensively, do exactly what you did. The fact that Baker Mayfield, the only quarterback in NFL history to lose 2 games by scoring 42 points or more. That's never happened before. That bothers the hell out of me because that shows that Baker can put up the points. This offense can put up the points, but this defense is a sieve right now. And thankfully, we are getting Denzel back this week. It looks like we're going to get Denzel back, so I'm happy about that. You knocked down half the field there for us, so we should be okay there. Miles got dinged up in the game. He came back out, and he tried to prove his worth, and it was what it was, but the linebackers, oh my God. Mac Wilson, there is MIA, man. MIA, missing in action. What the hell, Mac? And he's gone out there and he's starting to block people on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this or not.
I did see that trend. I did see people screenshotting that.
He started blocking people on Twitter because people were calling him out. He had 0 tackles. How are you an starting NFL linebacker and have 0 tackles against a rushing team that just ran for over 200 yards on you? How many? They had 231 yards on you, and you're a linebacker, and you didn't have any tackles? How's that even possible? The fact that he had as many tackles, I had as many tackles as he had, blows my mind. That blows my mind right there. But to wrap up for me, at least for this game, Baker played out of his mind. It just reinforced the fact that we have the right guy. That truly, we have the right guy, we have the right coach, we have the right scheme. If you can put up 42 points on this Ravens team, you should be able to win. That should have been a W. The fact that the Ravens went blow for blow made that game that much, in the realm of everything, that much greater. But it does suck that we couldn't have put them away. And that's going to bother me. That still bothers me. Still feels like I got kicked in the gut.
Peter?
Well, I agree with the no moral victories. I posted that on Facebook right after the game. It's we didn't get blown out. Baker looked great. The offense looked really good. The defense just looked...
That offensive line, by the way, 0 sacks to a Baltimore defense. Unbelievable.
No, they did great, but I think it just highlighted we're not a playoff team yet. We're not there yet. We need to shore up that defense. The linebackers, the secondary. Sure. Ward's great, but he wasn't there. So
best ability.
Right.
It's your availability,
right? And it hurt, man. It really hurt as a fan because you're watching this game and it's this is great. And then Lamar comes out and I hate the freaking announcers. Kevin was lucky that he was at the game because he didn't have to listen to the the announcers on Monday Night Football. So, it was disappointing. But like I said, I posted no moral victories.
Right.
If we want to be a playoff team and be a contender, that's a game they have to win. They had to win Monday night.
So before I throw it over to you, can I say one thing?
Oh, yeah.
This offense is Super Bowl caliber. This offense and offensive coaching staff is Super Bowl caliber. The defense is not playoff caliber. I'll agree with you there because you cannot win in the playoffs with this defense.
Right.
I think you can win a playoff game. You can outscore someone in a playoff game.
Right.
But you can't make a run.
Right.
And that's where an offense that is, if not Super Bowl ready, just about, and the way that they're playing and the chemistry and the flow and just the understanding from everybody of where guys are supposed to be at what times. You got the running game to control clock. Wish they would have ran the ball a little bit more, but that's kind of hindsight being 2020. Baker's throwing it all over the park. You let him go. Like, you let a quarterback like that go, and if you're getting quick points, you're putting up major numbers out there, you let a guy like that
They scored
go.
too fast at their last score.
Yes. You got to score, though.
Yes.
You know,
I don't. No, I know. It was just
Right.
there's too much time. Too much time left on the clock when they scored. I mean, what was it? 2 plays?
I mean, it was more than that. I think it was 3 or 4 plays.
3 or 4.
But the Ravens didn't have any timeouts. So, like, you tackle them in bounds, you'll be okay.
You got to tackle them.
Yeah.
Well,
they may have had one timeout, but so I'll kind of start there. The point that you just brought up, Peter, people after the game were making that a complaint against Baker, against the offense, that they scored too quick. Yeah, and again, in hindsight, you do, but if you can plan, if a coach can plan consistently, when you come into a situation where you got 1:51 left and you can use up all the time and still score your touchdown to tie up the game or take the lead, you're like an all-timer right there.
Right.
You're an all-timer. The goal is to score, and there's nothing they can do if their defense is going to be playing basically as bad as our defense did, and a guy like Kareem Hunt's going to break some ankles, blow through a guy at the goal line. Like, I'm not going to take away Kareem Hunt's effort or
not at all,
right. Reaction to the game. Like, what does he catches the ball, he turns around, what does he see? What does he see in front of him? Open grass, except for one guy. Makes a miss, and then all he's got to do is just pile his way through the goal line. Those other throws, maybe they could have been more in bounds. I think a couple of them, were kind of sideline throws, and they still had timeouts, so they still had time to work with where they could have ran routes inbounds. But I mean, if it's open and the guy, just take what the defense gives you. Those are little 10, 11-yard out routes to get a drive going. If it's there, take it. That's what you want. That's what we've been asking Baker to do for so long and since last season. Take what the defense gives you. Sure. Yes, you're a gunslinger, and if you throw a bad pick like you do, we already know that you're resilient enough to come back. We already know that that's in your DNA. But take what the defense gives you as you come back, find that rhythm again, then take your shots as it starts to open up. That's exactly what he did. I have no complaints about Baker Mayfield.
Sure.
I have no complaints about the offense. Special teams gave up some yards, but Cody Parkey missing a couple kicks, crucial down the stretch. He's been pretty consistent throughout the year. You don't want to see that become like a putter on the green, getting the yips. That's what what can happen to kickers. And I'll knock on wood for that one.
Sure, of course. But we've seen this before from Cody Parkey. In the playoffs, double doink. Like we've seen it happen to him before. So the pressure being, pressure bursts pipes. And like, that's the issue that I'm starting to see with Cody Parkey. And like, I'm not a huge fan of that, obviously, because
you don't trust kickers.
The Paulus motto, never trust a kicker. But I am more so worried about Cody Parkey than honestly, I'm more worried about the defense than I am Cody Parkey. Right. And that blows my mind because this defense, once again, when healthy, healthy-ish, you have Miles and then you have Denzel, two all-pro players. And like, one shuts down half the field, the other one, like, you got a triple team on the defensive line. So like, it does bother me, but Cody Parkey, I mean, he is starting to show his true colors, and I'm not a fan of that.
You would love to see Cody Parkey make a big kick in one of these last few games, whether in the Giants game that matters, the Steelers game that matters, to see that go through the uprights in a playoff type atmosphere or a game you got to win type atmosphere, type situation, to then hopefully kind of reinvigorate that confidence going into the playoffs. That can still happen. Concern, yes. As concerned as the defense, no. And so let me just take you guys inside First Energy Stadium.
Okay.
First, let me take you outside. I just got to say, if someone is dressed warmly and you can see, before I shaved my head this week, if you can see hair follicles up through my balaclava, or what is that thing?
What?
The balaclava, the
head cover.
The babushka thing. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, the babushka thing.
Not the baklava, but
Not the baklava.
If you can see like hair follicles and like ears like protrude, like basically because it's spandex or it's like an Under Armour or those things you put underneath to stay warm. If it's like that and you can see the hair follicles, maybe don't. And it's kind of like holding on the mask, and it's part of like a third mask that you have. I wore 3 masks, so I was as safe as I could be.
Right, yeah,
we were all
layered up,
all the way at the top, like no one around us. But security made me take all of that off just to show that as a hat, to show, because I put a hat over top of that, and I showed that there's nothing there, like you can see everything over top of my head, and they're like giving me a hard time because I had that on. I understand the security purpose of it.
Yeah.
But that's breaking COVID protocol, that I have to like remove something that is then pulling off the other mask I have on and exposing me and exposing other people. I just get a better system is all I'm asking. I know it's calling out the organization, but guess what? Get a better system. Get a better way to screen people, because that was a bad experience walking into that stadium.
I don't want to put this on you, but I mean, they've had those policies that you have to show underneath your hat and everything like that for years.
But that's not a hat, is what I'm saying. That's not a hat. You can clearly see if something is sticking up underneath something like that. Unlike a hat, I can, especially a winter hat, I can pull it up a little bit, stick something on my head, and walk in that way.
Did it cover your entire head?
Yes.
But it's tight.
It's tight. Yeah. So you can see all my facial features, all my bone structure. You can see my whole bone structure anyways. Okay. So if something basically doesn't reveal anything, like doesn't hide anything, except for like my nose and my mouth, because I'm protecting myself.
Sure.
Then it's not a hat. A hat is something I feel like you can easily remove. You can easily stick something up underneath, and you can't tell if it's like you're hiding something underneath there, because it doesn't.
We're getting away from the point.
I understand. I understand. You put me on this rant. Like I just wanted to quickly go through that.
That's fair. That's fair.
So that's kind of how the night started. As the night goes on, I'm watching a defense that we have talked about and I've kind of harped on a lot that is not doing anything. I understand how athletic, how exciting Lamar Jackson is as a quarterback, as a runner. But if you're going to face a guy twice a year, and you already faced him this year, you got to have a better game plan for that, because you know that that's coming. And yeah, you don't have all your players. You have some guys. You don't have the starting secondary that you thought you would. You're all professional. You are all paid to play the game of football. They made one play. The Ravens made their one play. They were bad all night too defensively, except for one play. The Browns couldn't make one play. How do you not, on 3rd and 10 against Trace McSorley, how do you allow a 13 to 15 yard catch, that a ball sailing up in the air, and Willie Snead to catch that? That was an issue. I 100% agree. Like, that should have been stopped. My biggest issue was the 4th and 5 play. The fact that Lamar came off the bench, cold, came off the bench. He came right out of the locker room.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't even think he went into a huddle. He just went straight out to the play.
I saw it happen as he came back on the field, because our buddy Emmett Golden always taught us, when you're at a game, whether you're covering it or even there as a fan, always practice this skill.
Sure.
Look at everything. Look at the sideline. Look at towards the tunnels. Look at, because you never know what you're going to miss that could be a factor. As Trace McSorley is on the ground and took that hit from Myles Garrett, the training staff runs on the field. A couple moments later, then Lamar Jackson emerges, sprinting, kind of still limping, but running fast out of the tunnel to the sideline. He goes straight to the field, picks up a football, starts throwing back and forth with a guy, throws on his helmet, goes out there while they're still attending to McSorley,
Sure.
getting into a huddle. Not a lot of concern for their teammate either, but he goes right onto the
when
field.
It's 4th and 5. I mean, the trainer's got the guy.
Right.
You got to worry about the play.
So it was like he hadn't even really gotten the full treatment, I don't think, but he saw what was going on and runs on, of course, in that moment. And who gives it up? I think it was 23 that was part of that allowed Hollywood to get behind. And
so what ended up happening was they did not an all-out, I mean, it was somewhat of an all-out blitz sort of thing. It was almost like a cover zero, Greg Williams-ish sort of thing. It was man-to-man all the way through, and they basically hit themselves, and, they fell down, and, there's Hollywood Brown wide ass open. So there was a lot of things going on with that. It should have never happened.
Never.
Right.
It never should have happened.
That's my biggest issue, is that play. Once again, if Denzel's out there for that game, I don't know how the game would have gone up to that point. But if you're telling me that Denzel, if Lamar came out on the field and then Denzel came out on the field, that play doesn't happen. Like, I'm just telling you, if Denzel's on that play, that 4th and 5 play, it doesn't happen. So
it doesn't, because now you got to go away from that. Now you got to think through those it makes Lamar go through those progressions more too. Honestly, I also felt like we got too sack happy. Like, we had good deal of sacks in the first half. We had, I think, 4 on them, but they started to get out of their lanes, because Myles Garrett, one of his favorite moves, and a lot of the guys have taken this on, is he tries to go around the outside of the tackle, come from behind by him being basically forcing the guy to step up. They got him a couple times. After that, he was able to get that jump cut. I think he had to change his cleats too, because he was slipping around in the pocket.
Everyone was.
So once he was able to change those cleats, he just put his foot in the ground and just took the open lane because no one was spying on him. Linebacking core, oh my goodness, are they non-existent? I don't even know if we have linebackers in Cleveland right now. Mac Wilson, if you want to block me on Twitter too, I really don't care, because you need to actually tackle somebody. Before you can get upset that people are criticizing you, actually go do your job. Just like I told 23 earlier this season, go do your job. I'm not looking for anything like Ray Lewis or these LT, any of these great linebackers of the past. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl. I'm looking for professional level, average to slightly above average linebacking play. We got none. And the next time that I see him, why am I forgetting? Mac Wilson. Wow.
Mac. Okay. Yeah.
I forgot his name because he's never on the field. Doesn't actually play on the field when he's out there. The next time I see him try to cover a guy, and yet he's already 5 yards away, the guy's really wide open, and he tries to make it look better by diving and reaching his hand out. I'm giving effort.
Yeah.
No, you're faking giving effort, and you need to actually develop your cover skills, but go tackle somebody. Tackle somebody in the run game. Because I'll tell you what right now, Wayne Gallman is going to run through guys with the Giants, and they're going to focus on their run game. If Daniel Jones can't play, they're going to focus on the run game. Daniel Jones is nowhere near, not even on the same ladder as Lamar Jackson as a running quarterback. But guess what? After tripping himself up this season, he can run, and they can exploit you for about 10, 11 yards on something like that. If you're going to put that on film where guys aren't going to tackle and those lanes are wide open. That's what becomes drive killers and drive basically invigorators for the offense, because you get a 3rd and 11, you bring pressure, no one's spying on a quarterback that is mobile. You're not playing against Phillip Rivers, the glue factory.
Right.
Playing against the young quarterback that can run. If he ends up playing, he can then hurt you for a first down. Now that drive continues. Now you got to be out there for 3 more plays, at least. That wears you down. Now, if Colt McCoy plays,
it's expected that this is going to be a revenge game. This is going to be a Browns revenge game, because you're looking at getting Freddie coaching, and we'll talk about that here. in a second. But Colt looks like he is going to play. Obviously, Jabril, is supposed to be playing as well. Kevin Zeitler, I believe, is going to be playing as well. Like, we're going to have a lot of people out there.
A lot
of former Browns.
So, Browns lose on Monday night. They're going to need to show out in prime time. Everybody watching on Sunday night, let's go there now. Defensively, take a look at it from the perspective that Colt McCoy will be playing and Freddie Kitchens calling the plays. Does that give them any sense of advantage because he has called play, like he's been with the Browns organization? There is that revenge. There is that motivation amongst the Giants team to help their guys out because there are several Browns players there. Is there any added motivation there? Or what can we do against this Giants offense to have a defense be at least average on Sunday night?
I think you just need to have a disruptive game plan, like going forward, at least versus the Giants and the Jets. Both offensive lines are not good. The next couple of games, you just need to have a defensive front there for us. So I'm expecting Miles to have a really good game, like he should. Like there's nobody that can tackle, or I'm sorry, there's nobody that can guard Miles, for the New York Giants. There's nobody out there. So I do expect him to have a really good game. Once again, getting Denzel back covers half the field. Right there, you should be okay for half the field. So I'm okay with all of that going forward. My issue is that Freddie, I'm not even worried about Freddie Kitchens. It is what it is. Freddie's going to call the game plan that is assigned from Jason Garrett. Like he's not going to have his own Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley sort of playbook. He's not going to be calling plays like that. This isn't going to be a Freddie Kitchens offense. This is going to be called a Jason Garrett offense called by Freddie Kitchens. I'm not that worried about it. Just straight up honest with you, especially if Colt McCoy's out there. Now, Daniel Jones does present a little bit of a different angle because he is a much more mobile player, but he is dealing with hamstring issues as well as ankle issues. So, even if he's out there, I'm not too worried about that either. Wayne Gallman has had a good year so far, so that is something to look at. They only pass for 200 yards a game. Okay, they only pass for 200. I think they run for a $115 or $116. So not a whole lot of rushing yards there as well. The plan going into this game for the offensive end for Baker and all of those guys, run the ball. Let's get through this. You're going to be in New York here for the next 2 weeks. That field, by the way, is straight trash. So you have to be careful. Make sure that you bring out some really good cleats because that field will turn your ankles and bust your ACLs, which is a huge issue. And I'm terrified of us losing some big time players on that garbage ass field. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen there for us, but just offensively, Baker, go out, do what you got to do. Running backs, I expect Nick Chubb to get his 1,000 yard rushing here for us. I think he's 119 away from breaking 1,000 there for us. So I do expect him to break 1,000 this week because I think he is going to have a hell of a game there for us. Maybe a couple of touchdowns, that'd be nice. I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a good game. I think Jarvis, we talked about it, before the show started. They're out 2 of their top 3 corners, and I just checked. They are out 2 of their top 3. So you should be okay. Jarvis should have a great game, and he's been doing really well over the last couple of weeks there for us. So I'm super pumped about that. Baker, just don't turn the ball over. That's it. As simple as that is, just don't turn the ball over, and defense, disrupt Colt McCoy. Disrupt a backup quarterback. That's all you got to do.
Side note with Jarvis, your thoughts on and Marcus? Yeah, Spitgate with him and Marcus Peters.
He should beat his ass. He should beat Marcus.
He wants to.
He wants to, and he should. Marcus Peters is a punk, a straight up punk. Him and Marlon Humphreys. Both of you are trash, straight up trash people. I don't care where you come from. And I know he said, if I got beef, I'll say it to his face or something like that. Dude, you spit at Jarvis. Like why would you do that?
It's on video.
It's on video. It's clear as day. It's on video. I'm so happy that Browns Nation caught on to that and then just sent it out everywhere so everyone knows. Like it's not just like us as a group and like as a community going like, oh, screw this guy. Like literally everyone in the NFL knows Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphreys are straight trash dudes. So I'm so happy about that because once again, the reason why I'm lumping Marlon Humphreys in there is obviously he was choking out Odell last year, and he was like, "Oh, I never did that." And then there's video of him like choking him out on the ground. Like that shouldn't. Come on, NFL, you should step up. By the way, you should step up. I don't know if you can suspending someone for spitting at someone. I don't think should happen, but you should fine the hell out of him.
You're like COVID.
He didn't spit on his face. He spit towards him.
It's bodily fluid in a pandemic. Like
with his back turned, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for the NFL. I think that you shouldn't suspend him for it, but you should fine him. Like that should be a $30,000 loogie. That's what that is. So like, but once again, he's straight trash. Marcus Peters is straight trash. I hope they see each other in like a party and Jarvis just stomps him. Like just straight up stomps him out because Marcus Peters is that sort of I keep saying trash dude, but he is. He's a bad dude. Like screw you, screw all of you Ravens fans that are defending him. How can you defend him after seeing the video? Clear as day, there's a loogie spit towards Jarvis's way after both of them were jawing. Like, come on. You're better than that. And like, Ravens fans, I don't have a lot of respect for you anyways, but you should be better than that.
It says a lot about that organization, too. The culture in that organization. Because because that kind of stuff happens. And
all the time. Like the J.K. Dobbins.
I am ashamed of J.K. Dobbins because I don't, you can talk your ish on the field.
Sure.
When you bulldoze a guy that's supposed to tackle you, his job is to stop you at the goal line, and you bulldoze right through him. But when it's a report that he is in concussion protocol, you might want to take the trash talk and everything like that, set it aside, leave it for the next game when guys are actually healthy, and not a guy, because as much as I've gone after Andrew Sendejo, and I will use his name here, I will never go at a guy for making a bad play when he had suffered an injury, especially a head injury. And we've seen all the science behind that, how the NFL takes that on, and the fact that the NFL has allowed the Ravens to delay their games with COVID, and yet force the Denver Broncos to play a wide receiver turn quarter, like used to play quarterback at one point, forcing teams to play games the day of, and allowing other certain teams for the narrative, for the brand. I don't want to use Pat McAfee's tagline there, but Roger Goodell's getting in on you, Pat McAfee. You better take some action. He's trying to go for the brand and trying to make some not so nice decisions out there.
My whole thing and I love this about Cleveland fans. Like we will rip someone relentlessly. 23 was getting ripped every single game. Even a couple weeks ago, whenever I was like, oh, he had a good game, you should prop him. And you're like, screw him. But now he gets concussion against an Ohio State Buckeye, and the Buckeye, goes out there and starts talking all this ish. And then we go, no, he's our guy. Back off, JK. Screw you, JK. I've never said, you can go anywhere in the country and you will not find a more loyal, relentless fan base as what Cleveland has. Even Philly guys, I guarantee, and Philly guys and Buffalo guys, all we're all in that same grouping of mega fans.
Yes.
And we defend people, everything like that. If Carson Wentz got an injury and then Jalen Hurts comes in and everyone's ripping on Carson Wentz, everyone goes, yeah, well, he should get ripped, oh, we got Jalen though. 23 got a concussion, knocked out cold, and JK's talking all this ish and everything like that, and we come to the defense of that. If Philly fans don't do that, Buffalo fans might, because Buffalo fans are as loyal, if not more loyal. I don't want to say they're more loyal than Cleveland fans. We're all right there, but I'm glad to see the loyalty of Cleveland Browns nation, of Clevelanders in general, backing up Anderson Sandejo, even though like he's played trash all year. Like you don't talk that, you don't say that sort of stuff to a dude A, who's injured, B, our guy.
Yeah, and if you want to characterize it as me being loyal to the team, because I am loyal to our teams here in Cleveland, that's fine. But I also know from a reality standpoint and a reality check for J.K. Dobbins, that's a classless act.
It was.
It's the wrong time, the wrong place. You feel like you did what you needed to do, and if he suffered a concussion, you're praying for him, but you love the hit that you put on him. That's fine. Keep that in your head. Don't hit send. And I know it's tough. Trust me.
Sure.
I know it's tough. Life lesson to a lot of you young people out there. Read, reread, don't hit send. If you have any question at all, don't hit send. And I'm sure he didn't even question it. PR person probably came to him. That's why it got deleted so quickly. Guess what? That's what screenshots are for. Just because you delete a tweet doesn't mean people can't see it.
Right.
Just because you delete something on social media doesn't mean people can't see it. Wise up. Be more classy, JK, and don't fall into the classless Baltimore Raven organization that we've seen too many examples of over the years. As great as they've been, boy, a lot of classless people over there. A lot of classless people have gone through that organization. But staying on Browns versus Giants, just to kind of wrap all that up, for me, it's going to be run game, stop the run. It sounds that simple, but it's something we did not see Monday night. Not because we didn't see our run game as much because Baker was on fire. If he's on fire, that's great. But I think a little bit more balance in this game, keeping guys fresh, especially on that turf that has cost seasons for several guys already this year. But you have to be able to stop the run. Linebackers cannot be basically wearing some sort of invisibility cloak out there on defense.
So what do you predict for this game? No, I'm not asking you for like the prediction of the game itself, but like what do you want to see happen?
I want to see the Browns control clock, control tempo, and control physicality in this game. That is going to be that last piece, physicality. That is the key to this game. You got out-toughed against the Raiders. You've out-toughed a lot of teams since then. This is a game where you're going to have to be the most physical team along both lines of scrimmage and dominate the game. Cannot have this get out to a big lead, allow them to come back type thing. Don't want to see those habits. If you get out to a big lead, you better stay there. If it's kind of back and forth or defense-driven game to start, slow start, something like that, you better be the more physical team. So as the game goes on, the gap between both squads gets wider and wider because the energy and effort that the Giants have to put out to match your physicality, they just don't have the conditioning. They get worn down, and you dominate the game start to finish. Predictor Paulus, what say you, Browns, Giants, Sunday night?
Browns, Giants, Sunday night football. I think that it's going to be close early. We're going to kind of feel each other out, basically. But I do expect our running game to take over. I think Nick Chubb is going to have an excellent game. I think that Baker is going to have an excellent game to the wide receivers. Maybe not so much tight ends, although Austin Hooper is going to be coming back, so that'll be good for our running game for sure.
Questionable though. They
are questionable, but I think Hooper will be back for that. He's been practicing last couple of games. Today, Wyatt Teller is out for the game, so that does hurt the offensive line a little bit. But I think Nick Chubb against that defense should be good. Now the Giants, I don't want to scoff at their defense. Their defense is really good.
It's what's gotten them close to the NFC East title.
Right.
It's as bad as the NFC East has been.
Right. They started off the year 1-8, then went 4 straight because of their defense. They can't score a lick on offense, so I'm not too worried about their offense putting up a lot of points. But this running attack for the Browns needs to take advantage of getting through the front seven, because once you get through that front seven, they have no secondary. So, like, you just get through the front seven and you are gone. I expect at least one run, of 30 yards or more for Nick Chubb. He doesn't, it feels like a weekly basis anyways, but I do expect at least one big run from them. I'm hoping maybe a big catch from Kareem Hunt out of the backfield, maybe, taking it for a touchdown or something like that. But I think that this game is going to come down to, aggression, there for us. I think the Browns win, I'll say 27-14. That's kind of what I'm looking at. It's like a dominating sort of game. You should have more points. I think they're going to leave some points out, out there on the field, but I think it'll be a good game for the Browns. And by the way, you need to win at least 2 of your next 3 in order to make sure that you're in the playoffs. You have the Giants this week, good defense, terrible offense, the Jets, and then the Steelers, who you have at home. And I don't want it to come down to week 17 in order to get in. I don't think that'll happen. I think that you do take care of this week and next week. Playoff teams take care of games like this, and especially against the Jets next week. So just handle your business the next 2 weeks. You'll get in at 11-5. That is a given. You will get in at 11-5 there for us. Make sure that happens, though.
You have raised some eyebrows about what you can do as a Browns team nationally going into the playoffs to solidify yourself as a team that can make a lot of noise in a playoff run. You need to win at least 2 out of the next 3. Probably need to win these next 2 and need to be at the end of Sunday night. I think you need to be 10-4 going into the week against the Jets, so that you can see where everybody else is and what kind of game you need to play in the last 2. And I would love to see them beat the Steelers in last week too, because to go 2-4 in the division, while I don't think it would be a fair narrative, there will be the people that bring up, well, can Kevin Stefanski, can Baker Mayfield beat the top dogs? They can't beat the top dogs in their own division. So
I think that's something, honestly, this year, it's all about just making the playoffs.
Right.
Next year, it's about competing for the division.
Right. And
I think that's what we're looking at.
Right. But also, you want to kind of be able to send a message. I think you did to the Ravens on Monday night.
You absolutely did.
But not winning that game, leaves some question marks there. So it's a playoff team, not quite a Super Bowl team, but anything can happen once you get to the dance. So now, another team trying to get to their version of the playoffs, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They face off against Northwestern. They will be playing at noon tomorrow, based on when we're recording. As long as they play, you'll be watching after the game is already done. But we're just going to quickly just preview that game, and if we think they're going to get in the playoffs, and what kind of playoff journey we think this team is going to have. We all believe they can beat Northwestern.
Yeah.
Need to handle their business. They haven't played in a couple weeks. Need to handle their business against Northwestern. They beat them. What does that playoff pathway look like? Is there still a chance they don't get in, with the committee saying this week there has not been many, but a few conversations about Ohio State and Texas A&M?
So the way that I'm looking at the playoff rankings here for us, the top 4 teams right now: Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State. Notre Dame and Clemson are going to play each other this weekend. Obviously, Alabama is going to be playing Florida. I think Notre Dame loses to Clemson. I think Clemson, has their revenge game, beats Notre Dame. I think that'll mark Notre Dame probably down to the number 4 spot. I think we're going to have a rematch of last year's playoff game between us and Clemson, and I hate that. I absolutely hate that, because I don't feel comfortable enough going up against Trevor Lawrence. We've seen against Penix Jr., who's a good quarterback. He's no number one pick, but I'm hoping that the revenge factor, sort of kicks in, because I think you win that game if Shaun Wade doesn't get ejected. I think you win that game if Chris you definitely don't lose that game if the way you did if Chris Olave doesn't break off the route. Like he did, and ends up throwing the interception. Justin Fields ends up throwing the interception there for us. But I am looking, putting the cart ahead of the horse there for us, because you absolutely have to win tomorrow. To have any chance, you got to win tomorrow. The NFL, or I'm sorry, the NCAA predictor has it as like a 90 to a 10 split. So 90% of the money is obviously, or not the money, but just the predictions are on Ohio State. So I'm not too afraid of Northwestern. Their defense is good.
Yeah, they can muck it up. They can muck it up.
Their defense is good. Their quarterback Peyton Ramsey, I believe, played for Indiana last year.
So.
I believe it was Indiana. He's not having the greatest years, ever, but he's having a decent year, for a Northwestern quarterback. But I do expect Ohio State to dominate, to take care of business. I would love to see them be able to put away a team, the second half. You and I have talked about this. I didn't think it was much of anything until, the Indiana game, but I think that they will learn from their lessons. I think Ryan Day's going to have a field show out there. I think, Justin Fields is going to go off tomorrow. So I expect them to dominate. About, I'll say 45 to 14. I think you're looking at something that sort of dominant. I know that the game itself was, what is it? It's a 18 and a half point favorites is Ohio State. So I think that they'll do that at least. I think you're going to put up at least 20 over this team. So I would take the over, and then Ohio State should do it. I think you're going to see a lot of running from this ground attack as well. Not only Justin doing it, but Master Teague and finally Trey Sermon showing up, like he did against Michigan State the other week. So,
Peter, what are you expecting from tomorrow, and then the corresponding result of that for their playoff hopes?
Well, I believe obviously they're going to beat Northwestern without, no doubt there.
Right.
I do 45-14. I could see Northwestern maybe getting a garbage time touchdown, make it 45-21 or something like that.
Okay.
It's indoors, so the weather's not going to be a factor. So, Justin Fields might just go off. It might be a lot more than 45. I mean, it all depends on how much of that pent up energy they had for the Michigan game that got canceled. They're amped up, and and I think because they're only going to have 6 games, they may be looking to really put out a show and dominate this game, because they need style points. They need to show that they are.
It matters more than any other time.
Yes,
exactly, and assuming, as people are watching this, that they've already won and, decimated Northwestern. As far as the playoffs, I kind of agree with you that I think Clemson's going to come back. They're going to beat Notre Dame. Does that drop Notre Dame? Does that drop them? I don't.
Well, so this is my thought process. Okay, for that is that right now 2-3 matchup, because it goes 1 to 4 and 2 and 3. Yeah. You don't want to see Notre Dame and Clemson a third time. I say a meaningless playoff game. Like, if you want any of that, you want that for the national championship. So I think that if Clemson does win, that'll move them up to 2. You'll see Notre Dame down to 4, Ohio State to 3. Then you have the rematch of Clemson and Notre Dame, and then you have Bama versus Clemson versus Ohio State, and then Notre Dame and Bama.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Because those are the 4 best teams. That's a fact.
That's a good. I wasn't thinking about that. That it would be the third, Notre Dame Clemson game, which would be ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. I think I can follow that.
And now, mind you, this is all saying that Notre Dame doesn't get annihilated, because Trevor Lawrence didn't play in that first game, and they still gave up 40-something points and took them to triple overtime or whatever it was that night. But I do think I think Notre Dame is going to show up enough to where they don't get blown out by 20 or anything stupid like that. It'll be a closer game, but I think Clemson wins.
What happens if Notre Dame wins? Then
Clemson's out. Clemson would be out at that point in time.
Is that Texas A&M's best hope?
That is Texas A&M's only hope. Is if that were to happen, because they're not playing. I don't think they're playing tomorrow. So
I don't think so. No.
So
I think Bama, Florida in the SEC championship.
Right, but there are there are some games here for us.
There are.
There's a bunch of other games going on. Yeah, there's
a Big Ten game tomorrow canceled, even though they weren't in the championship game.
Right. Yeah. No. So I don't see them. Oh, A&M does play. They're playing Tennessee.
Okay.
So whatever. But I think the only hope that they have is if Clemson loses and then they get bumped up, depending on what they do. However, you know what? Honestly, if they don't make it, if Clemson gets bounced, you know who has the best shot? Probably Iowa State. Iowa State plays Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship. So if Iowa State, who's number 6, if they beat Oklahoma, whether by a touchdown or what, and Clemson loses, you could realistically see them going, hey, we just beat a top 10 team, for a championship, move them up. That would be kind of interesting to see.
It would. I just think that if an SEC school is there and has potential, I think the committee puts them.
But you don't want to see them go up against Bama again because they lost them by 28 points at the beginning of the year.
Don't want to, but again,
it's fair.
It's that SEC still kind of overrated mentality.
Bias.
Yeah, the SEC bias. SEC is good.
They're the best.
They're not as good. It's not as good. There's wider gaps than there was in the past in the SEC.
But there's no wider gap than Ohio State, rest of the Big Ten.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that. Right. I'm not saying the Big Ten is better than the SEC.
Okay.
I'm just saying that other conferences don't get looked at as much when an SEC school is there. Like that carrot in front of the committee, it's still taken over other carrots.
But that carrot's worth it. More times than not, that carrot is worth it, just because there's only 2 real conferences outside of the SEC that are worth a damn, and that is Ohio State. That is the Big Ten and Ohio State, and that's it. And then you're looking at ACC. You're looking at Clemson and now Notre Dame.
I'm just not as high on the quality of SEC football anymore as it once was. Like. They've come down to earth a little bit. In my eyes, they've come down to earth.
I think
Bama is.
I don't even count.
Bama is Bama.
I don't even count this year though, and this year SEC's having a great year. I mean, overall they're having a great year. But I don't even count so much this year compared to other years. And this is, once again, the Big Ten is nothing without Ohio State. Like, literally, they're changing rules in order for them to get into games like this.
Right.
So,
and again, it's not Big Ten over SEC. Like, I would never make that argument.
Okay. Yeah.
I just think compared to SEC standards, I think that they've definitely come down to earth.
Fair.
And they're kind of.
I won't fight you on that.
They're given credit more so for the standards of the past that aren't really met by the current culture and football landscape or sports landscape in the SEC.
That's fair.
Now, anybody watching this, again, yes, Ohio State has to win tomorrow for these conversations to be viable. So that's why we're kind of having this conversation right now, because we're kind of going based off what we think, what we plan to have happen, what we're predicting to have happen. Again, I don't really make predictions, but the type of performance I'm expecting out of Ohio State would lead you to a winning scenario. I'll say it that way. Without making a prediction, I will say it that way.
Sure.
It's going to come down to what happens in a couple of the other conference games, conference championships. Will determine the top 4.
Sure.
And we'll see what their path looks like, and we'll break down those matchups moving forward. I know that we're kind of over time a little bit, but just want to quickly get your thoughts, Paulus, because we won't be able to talk before the NBA season starts.
Sure.
Expectations for the Cavs this year, and do you take any stock in what they've looked like in the preseason, at least, especially the draft pick, Isaac Okoro had that game winner in the first one. He's looked pretty good, and a lot of the vets have been talking about his work ethic in practice and that he has it.
No, he looks like a baller, and he looks like the right pick. I mean, for picking at 5, I mean, looks like the right pick. That dude plays defense, looks like he has a decent offensive game so far. I mean, nothing too crazy or anything like that. He's not shooting the lights out, which is fine. I mean, he's 19 years old, you know, so that's okay. I am looking forward to this year, though. I think that we're still going to have a down year. I think that we're not going to be as far off as what everyone thinks. You know, everyone thinks that this is the second worst team in the league. You know, top 2 losing team, whatever. I don't think that that's the case. I think that you're going to see this team improve. I think there's 72 games this year, not 82, 72 this year. I could and we got hot last year. We still had, I think, 15 games to go, 10 or 15 games to go. And I think we ended up with 20 wins last year. I think that you realistically could see them winning 25 games this year. Now that's not a crazy amount, but that does in the East, that'll get you right around the 10 11 seed. Yeah, right around there. And I think that's where, you know, the Cavaliers are right now. Very young team. You're not going to have, I think Andre Drummond is going to get shipped out right around trade deadline. I could see whenever that is.
I believe they agreed to it as March 25th.
Around
that time frame.
That makes much more. Okay, that's perfect then. So I see that maybe you might be able to have someone bite at Kevin Love because his contract, it's not close to being over, but we've ate a lot of the bulk of that contract so far. So maybe you can ship him out somewhere, maybe get some extra draft picks. I just love what we're doing right now with the preseason. Isaac, you know, once again, Isaac looks great. Colin Sexton, I love him. The charges got dropped against KPJ, so that's a bonus. Hopefully he doesn't get in any more trouble, and you know the guys go from there. But this is a very good young team. I love JB Bickerstaff, so I'm gonna guess 25 wins for this team. And I know we were talking about NBA Finals or champs or anything like that. I think the Lakers go back to back with it. I think that they do finally see Giannis in the NBA Finals, who just signed his mega, you know, $228 million deal, the most in NBA history. So I'm going to go with Lakers, Giannis for the Finals. Lakers win, I'll say in 6.
Okay. Yeah, it was good to see Giannis sign that max contract because a lot of these guys.
Good for Milwaukee.
Yeah, it changes the.
Good for him.
It changes the narrative on star players in the NBA.
Sure.
Always kind of going somewhere else where the money is and teaming up, or enough money to maybe you take a pay cut, but you can team up with someone else. Like he wants to be the guy, and other guys want to play with him, and he wants to be there in Milwaukee. A sight for sore eyes if you're, you know, down on the NBA for all the super teams that have been built over the last few years and all the superstars teaming up. In terms of the Cavs, I don't put much stock into the preseason games, and that's not a knock on this Cavs team or Isaac or anything. I know a lot of people want their due diligence, or they want their credit for saying Okoro over Obi Toppin. They want that argument to now stop. Again, I wanted Obi Toppin. I don't know much about Isaac Okoro. So like I'm as open-minded as it comes. I know we say that about every Browns coach and front office because that's all we can really do. But I'm genuine when I say I'm open to what Isaac can bring to this team. If he helps change the defensive culture and can take that best guy one-on-one, then you talked about playing that shell defense, those 4 guys in and out, rotating, then that just makes you that much more competitive in the NBA. If you can defend long enough and not just have one little stretch in a game,
right?
If you can defend consistently, that's going to get you wins in an NBA season. That will help build a winning culture for your organization as well, which the Cavs are trying to do again. So you can get that from Okoro, and he develops offensively. You see him streaking down the floor. All the more power to the people that said Okoro over Obi Toppin.
Right.
I'll be the first one to say, like, hey, I was wrong. Like, Obi's not playing well in New York. Okoro's doing great for us. That was congrats, Kobe. Like, great pick, great vetting of talent, especially in such a weird year where you couldn't even pick someone until late November. You had more time, So hopefully the due diligence pays off in the future. I'm just saying preseason, where guys' mindsets are, especially in this weird year, it's going to go back and forth. You're playing weird lineups. A lot of teams are doing like G League lineups for a quarter, things like that. Let's see it full 4 quarters. Let's see what they got. Come December 22nd or 23rd, whenever they start, let's see what they got and go from there. And maybe there might be a point. I will tell you right now, in my head, I see a point in this season where we're talking about potential playoffs and then another drop off to be in a lottery team. But I can see them flirting with that 8 or 9 seed for a stretch of time during the 72-game season.
It depends on how quick they get off.
Right.
Like, if they get off to a good start, and, like, that's how every NBA team is.
Yes.
If you get off to a good start, you're pretty much in it. But if you start off 1-9, like, it's done deal. Like I'm not saying cancel the rest of the year, but, like, at that point in time, then you are literally working on just forming up your team for next year. That's pretty much how it always goes.
First 2 to 3 weeks of this season will
Huge.
tell you a lot. After not playing for a long time,
Right.
while there's plenty of games left to be played, the first 2 to 3 weeks of this NBA season will tell you a lot about the Cavaliers, their chances or what they can do this season, and who can be competing for a championship. We know the Lakers will let LeBron kind of allow his body to slowly get into it because they've had less time to prepare.
He
already played in a preseason game, so he's going to go out there. He's going to go do his job. But, they're going to find ways to get him and AD their rest so that they're ready for the stretch run because they'll be in prime position to compete again. And, of course, I got to go with my guy, Bron. Got to go with my guy, Bron, to win another championship.
Right.
I would love to see Bron versus Giannis because that would be the LeBron Kobe that we didn't get.
No,
not to that.
No, I don't think so. Like,
I think so.
I think no, it would be more like Kobe versus Dwight Howard. That's how it would feel to me, at least.
The type of star power that Giannis can bring,
it's not. It isn't, and like it would be more so if.
You can't compare Giannis to Dwight Howard. Giannis is way better than Dwight Howard. That is not the same thing. If it's somewhere in between, if you want to say it's somewhere in between Kobe Bron and Bron Giannis, or Kobe Dwight, that's fine.
I'm not calling Giannis. I'm not calling Giannis Dwight Howard, but I'm talking matchup wise. It doesn't. To me, it's not. It's nowhere near the ballpark of what Kobe and LeBron would have been. It's nowhere near that.
Because Giannis is trying to prove he's that next guy.
He isn't.
And LeBron was at that point of trying to prove he was that next guy, while Kobe was still able to win championships for the Lakers.
I get that, Kevin. But like what I'm saying is like, and once again, I'm not calling
I
Giannis,
understand what you're saying.
Right.
I'm not wrong.
Sure.
You're not wrong.
Sure.
That's what you feel. That's what I feel.
Right.
This is not a I'm wrong, you're wrong type of thing.
Right. No,
I think this is where this is getting misconstrued right now.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think that's going down the wrong path.
I just think like for me personally, like whenever I think of like all-time matchups, for NBA finals or anything like that, it's better than the Lakers Bucks would be better than like what we got from last year. Lakers Heat. It'd be better than that, but it would
ratings wise.
It would never be like all I ever wanted in life was to see LeBron versus Kobe in the finals. That's all I ever wanted. And the fact that we never got that bothers the hell out of me. To this day, it still bothers me because like I always thought that would have been one of the most hyped up NBA finals, not of my generation, but of all time. Because of how good those guys were back in that day. 10 years ago, whenever, Kobe was winning championships and LeBron was on his way up, like that's all whether it was with the Cavs or the Heat, I always wanted to see that. And it's a shame that we never got that.
But that LeBron at that time, that's the steps that they want to see Giannis take. And
right.
Kobe, LeBron, similar time frames. A little bit later in the career for LeBron, but similar time frames career-wise. Because Kobe at his peak, that was Kobe Shaq. Kobe
Shaq. I mean, yeah, Kobe was definitely in his prime then.
Kobe winning those two with Powell in that group in the late 2009, like that era right there, that was kind of what LeBron's doing now. That was basketball IQ, Kobe.
Yeah.
That was
More so. Yeah.
That was like fully infused Mamba mentality, Kobe.
Yeah.
While he didn't have as much athleticism. It was starting to not be the same. It's not the same for LeBron right now either.
Right.
It was, guess what? My skills still speak in this league, and they're going to win championships, and that's the stamp that Kobe put down.
Sure.
And continued thoughts and prayers and Mamba mentality forever to Kobe. Just want to go around the table real quick. Longer episode, but it's a Christmas it's a holiday special, so why not, right?
Right.
Best present ever at Christmas time. Paulus.
I'll start. Yeah. My best Christmas present that I ever got was I got the Batmobile. Whenever, like, the old school Michael Keaton Batmobile, like, and it had a little amp in the back, so, like, drive down the road and stuff. Now, I was living out in Norton. I don't know if you guys know where that is. Way out in the sticks, and we didn't have a real road. We had a gravel road. So, like, I'm out there, and I'm it is what it is. But I'm out there, and I'm driving. Thing broke down on me first day. So, like, it broke, and then my dad, was like, like, he paid. I don't know how much he paid for it, but ended up getting that replaced, and he took me to, like, Toys R Us.
Nice.
R.I.P. Toys R Us.
Oh.
But he was like, hey, whatever you want, like, so I got to do that. But for one day, I was Batman, and that was, like, the best present ever. So,
Peter. You had 70 minutes to think about this.
Yeah, I know, and it's tough because I don't, most of the now all the presents I get, like I was telling you guys, it's like robes or stuff like that, and it's like, which I do appreciate. But as a kid, I don't remember like a ton of like presents I got at Christmas time, which is probably because you always ask for all this stuff that you think is so important at the time when you're a kid, and then you're like,
oh yeah,
what the heck was I thinking? Now, there's two things that kind of stick out. I know when I was little, I did get like a train set, like an HO train set, which was great, except they didn't really have a good place to put it. So I used to have to put it together like on the dining room table and get yelled at by my mother for, don't scratch out my table.
Right.
But then I do remember, I'm pretty sure this was for Christmas because now I see it all the freaking time on Facebook ads, is the old Wind Up Evel Knievel motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of those as a kid. And that thing... you'd wind as a little kid. You're trying to wind this thing up, and it would go like 3 feet and fall over.
Oh yeah.
It never went like. I just saw a video where they're like, it's jumping 3 motorcycles. I'm like,
yeah,
mine never did that. So I was, probably just too weak as a little kid to get it, wound up that much. But yeah, that Evel Knievel motorcycle stunt bike was a pretty cool toy.
Yeah.
So 2 stick out to me, but there's one that is probably the best of all time. I mean, I could go with the Toy Story Buzz Lightyear action figure that had all the sounds, but it wasn't the typical color of Buzz Lightyear.
Okay.
It was like platinum-esque, like a sticker to have that reflective paneling to give it that reflective look. That's the Buzz Lightyear that I had gotten. It was like a special edition one. I was big on Pixar and Toy Story, so parents got me that. But more so when I was actually 18 and just graduated high school. Parents bought my first ever video game console, the Wii. Okay. And while the Wii was something where they said, you can get active, and it's never been one that's ever gotten highly touted after people saw what it was moving forward. I mean, I love playing Smash Bros. And those Nintendo games on there, and I love the Wii Sports too. What it meant to me was my parents never really had the money to get us, and I never grew up playing video games. I had a Game Boy Color, a Game Boy Advance, but like it was like handheld stuff all the time, all the time. Like all my friends had the N64s, and they had PlayStation 1, 2, 3, up to, now of course up to the 4 and 5, or Xbox, whatever it was, they had the latest game console. So I'd have to go play video games at their house if we weren't outside. To see my parents kind of do that for me and my sister, to get us something like that, that late on, especially when we're starting to become more independent, that meant a lot to me because they had put a lot of their heart hard-earned money. They had heard me talk about video games all the time, how, while I understood why we couldn't have them, it was always, I think they heard the disappointment in my voice and stuff. So to open something like that on Christmas made me appreciate my parents even more, and something that I hope to do as a father in the future. Like that, this holiday season is not about the gifts. We all know that. And, people have different beliefs on what it means, but one thing that it means for everybody is time with family, reflection, giving of yourself more so than getting. But to see my parents give of themselves in that regard, I would love to forward that on to then my kids and be that type of person where I can impact my kids that much, have a gift impact them that much, that boosts their morale, anything like that, that goes far beyond what the gift actually is and what you get to do with it. It goes much deeper than that.
Real quick, and end it on this. Favorite Wii game? Go.
Oh, it's the Wii Sports. It's the Wii Sports Resort, actually, the extended one where you got to get it's like a extra clip on there because there's a basketball 3-point shooting contest.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so like I always say, like the wrist flick with the Wiimote.
Man, I'm trying to think because we have a Wii.
Okay.
And I'm like trying to remember which games that we actually have for the Wii because a couple years ago I was fortunate enough for Father's Day, my kids got me an Xbox.
Okay.
Except they play it way more than I do. So.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure we had a couple of the Lego Star Wars games. I think we had for the Wii, and playing that with my kids is a lot of fun. And we also would play like Lego Rock Band.
Okay.
Which was fun because some of the like older rock and roll music, the 70s, 80s heavy metal, songs. My kids are into them now, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, those are great games.
My favorite is hands down Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods Golf for the Wii was amazing. Our buddy Bill, he bought. I can't remember if he bought the Wii or he had the Wii, whatever. But we went to like a GameStop and we were like, oh, you know what'd be pretty cool? Like at this point in time, we were both like highly into golf. He was working at like this golf course. I'd always sneak onto the golf course. Yeah. And like, so we were like, you know what? Like in the winter, we should keep our game going by playing Tiger Woods golf. I'd head over to his place all the time and we would just be, doing full out, and like after a while, like you get tired. You're just like
yes,
right, yeah, the rest, 300 yards, whatever. But like we would like literally get into it. So, but yeah, no, Tiger Woods golf. That was my go-to. So.
I was always excited about Mario Kart on the Wii, but I was really. I'm
terrible at that. Oh my god, I'm god awful.
You know
with
what?
That steering
we
wheel.
do have that I'm pretty sure that's for the Wii, and
it's awful.
I'm all over the place.
Awful.
I love it, but like I found I was one of the few people that loved it for having the wheel, like putting the Wiimote inside the wheel.
We have the little wheels too. Yeah, we have those.
Like, I found nobody's ended up using them.
I hated that damn wheel. like my nephew who was probably 6 years old at the time. He's lapping me. I'm like, this isn't working. Like I don't get it.
Now see, I used to have Jeeps. I used to have a Jeep Wrangler. I had a couple of them, and I loved them when I had kids.
Yeah,
they weren't really practical, and at the time we had two cars. I had my Jeep. My wife had a car. The baby seat had to go in the front seat of the Jeep, and we couldn't fit it in the back of her Saturn because it was just too small. And I'm like, I had the car payment, of course, on the Jeep.
Sure,
so it's like the Jeep had to go because it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And I still want one. So my kids did get me one year, maybe for my birthday, I can't remember what it was, but they got me the Jeep driving game for the Wii.
Wow.
And even with the wheels, that game, my kids can do something. I'm crashing into everything. I'm like, I appreciate the sentiment, but it's, I want the real thing.
I was actually pretty good with the wheel, but
yeah,
I gotta get back to playing. My Wii is still, we still play it.
Mine's set up. It's in. We got the TV in the garage with the Wii set up. So
it's always a fun time. But that is gonna wrap it up for this mega edition of The Voice of the Land here for us. Of course, it is a recorded episode. You're watching on Saturday. We recorded on Friday. But anything that you want to chime in on that we talked about here, feel free to reach out to us on social media. Comment like you normally would on the live stream. we'll comment back. We'll talk back. You talk to us, we'll talk back. Our voices are always going. So for Nick Paulus and our producer, Peter Tulp, wishing everyone, no matter what you celebrate, a very happy, blessed, and safe holiday season. And to all you sports fans, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. I am Kevan Arnold, reminding everyone that listens, watches, or tunes in for even 1 minute, 2 seconds to give us a view. We love you all, 3,000. We will see you all next week.